road to PyeongChang continues at the 1928 and 1948 Winter Olympic venue. We're in the oldest, the most historic, the greatest sliding track of them all, Moritz in Switzerland. Hello everybody, welcome to race 7 of the BMW IBSF World Cup for men's skeleton, heading into the second heat, and I'm joined by medalist this morning from the women's race, Elizabeth Farche. Elizabeth, what a race we've got in our hands.
Yeah, it's a pretty tight race between the 2nd to 10th ranked sliders, and then Sungbin Yoon has kind of run away with it a little bit. He's 42 hundredths ahead of the next athlete.
Well, Axel Jung in 3rd place, a man who seems destined to be 4th in most races. Fastest start, the start record for Alexander Tretiakov, and he had a pretty decent run too, right?
Yeah, he did just a couple little skids, but he had ultimately a good run.
So Alexander Tretiakov back on fine form on a track where he claimed the 2013 Worlds, but 42 hundredths of a second in front is Korea's Sungbin Young. Last time out here, Martin Stukus was the winner. The year before that, it was Yoon, and he just looks absolutely stunning.
Yeah, completely relaxed on his sled and just flying.
So Sungbin Young at Korea, 42 hundredths of a second clear. Another 42 hundredths takes you off page 1 and down into 11th position. That's how far ahead he is. But look at the gaps behind. Tretiakov just 7 hundredths in front. You know, the gaps here in most of the top 20 are 2, 3, maybe as many as 5 or 6 hundredths apart. So we could see an awful lot of changes. And Mirambel, 20th, makes the cut. Marcus Wyatt, the World Cup rookie, does not. And of our 32 starters, 12 join us on the sidelines watching to see whether anyone can make a dent in Sungbin Young's lead. I'm not even going to venture that somebody will beat him. He has to crash this one away, doesn't he?
He would have to hit a lot of walls to lose that lead.
And this ain't no Altenberg, baby, so he is going to be very tough to beat. Even Alexander Tretiakov, the man who claimed the gold medal in the last Winter Olympic Games, is going to struggle from 2nd position. And Tretiakov, as we said, 2013 world champion, ahead of Martin Stukus. And Sergei Chudanov, who took the bronze that day, is here helping coach the Russians. There's Martins, last time out, took his 50th career win in the World Cup, which sounds pretty impressive until you say there's only 8 races a year. That's a massive total.
Been dominant for so many years, and now this pesky Korean has come in and starts to take some podiums away.
Well, Mirambel, 20th in the first heat, will be first to go in the second. So we go 20 down to 1. The leader is always the last man to go to see whether he can hang on in front. And between Ander and Sungbin Young, there will be a lot of changes. Of that, there can be no doubt. This is the longest track on the planet. It's one of the fastest, the only naturally hand-built track, and it always produces entertaining racing, and it gets faster. 20 sleds to go in Moritz in men's skeleton. Mirambel of Spain, first off, makes the cut in the first heat. A full 10th of a second quicker than his first heat. So that will guarantee that he is a happy bunny at the end of this run.
That's for sure. He had a really nice drive. He had nice control. You could see that as Martin has his...
I had my Mirambel buff on that he gave me in the run into the 2010 games. Good start as well.
Yeah, he's getting a little bit faster, a little bit stronger as we head into Korea. Not as high as we're going to see other athletes. He's about a sled length away from the roof, and we're going to see the top speeds coming from people that are basically kissing that roof.
So, the Catalan is our race leader. Next up is the man from outside of Edmonton, Alberta, from the west coast of Canada, Kevin Boyer. And that's the native art represented on his helmet in the form of a beaver, hence the big buck teeth. That's a beaver, not Kevin. Another great starting athlete.
Yeah, he's really come a long way with his start. He trains with Cristiano Paez in Calgary, a 91. That's an improvement, I think, from his first run.
11th fastest start in the first heat. What about this track? How hard is it to keep doing what he's doing, keeping arrows straight?
It's hard because you can't even look a different way.
Leaping off the sled almost.
Oh. Reese also didn't get a second run last year, so this is such an improvement. He's stoked. He's going to be heading towards his first Olympic Games in Korea.
Well, like Jackie Narracott of Australia, representing New Zealand means he's in the Pacific Rim group with the Japanese, the Koreans, the Chinese, so he may be driving himself into the Olympics right here.
Exactly, and he laid down a nice run.
And he clearly felt it, and you feel it as much as see the time, right?
Exactly. Very rarely do you have a good run that's slow or feels good.
Okay, next up, Ronald Arderset, 32nd and last in the field, which anywhere else you'd never make the second cut. I don't care who you are. Here, it was actually an advantage, but the Swiss champion started 4th fastest. Now, he always starts fast, but getting that speed to the line has been a challenge everywhere but here.
Yeah, you can see him moving a little bit. His shoulders are up. He doesn't quite have control of the sled, skidding all over the place, just trying to get it back.
4.80, you heard Guido, to the tail of the field, 1:09.80. Oh, what a shame. And, you know, one of the hardest things about this sport is not getting the speed, it's getting the consistency of speed, right?
Exactly, and it is really difficult to get that consistency and then add the pressure on top of that. You know, like you said before, you know when you have a good run, but you also know when you have a bad run.
Yeah.
He's gonna hit right on the left just before Dixon, and that's really hard to set you up for horseshoe to get that really big speed on the exit of horseshoe. Too early into telephone, and it bumps him up on his bumpers. He's on his shoulder in telephone. And then a little bit of a messy entry into Shamrock.
Ronald Arderset from a great run to a disappointing one, exactly the opposite of your teammate Mimi Reneva in the women's race. Next up, Jerry Rice. 2 of the 3 British sliders made it into the field. Marcus Wyatt, 21st place, didn't get a second heat, but Jerry does.
This is going to be a good race between Jerry and Reese and Greg. It's a big race again for Jerry as well.
4.93 in the first heat, 4.90 in the second. Not many tracks you get quicker in the second heat.
Very rarely do you get quicker in the second heat, but as you start, there you go.
1:08.31, 1:08.48 in the first heat. So he held his nerve, held his line, and that guarantees himself at least a top 12 finish. And this season, Jerry's best result was 14th in Innsbruck.
He's going to be stoked with this for sure. And finally, it's like, yes, I'm supposed to be here. He's a very quick starter, as are all the Brits. Loads onto his sled really nicely. And what I noticed at the top of the track is he was more relaxed than he was on the first run.
Well, the tension going into the first heat, I think, must always be more than in the second. And so, you see that in the body. The more you see the body sort of like a jelly on the sled, the more relaxed the athlete, and the more damping effect it has. 3 Russians in the top 11 after the first heat, the third of whom, Vladislav Marchenkov. Marchenkov made his World Cup debut this season in Lake Placid, and he started with a bang, 11th place. Missed the cut then in Park City and Whistler. He would got a 1:08.13 in the first heat. He'd be in a 3-way tie for 6th with Nikita Chegabov and Martin Stukurs.
Yeah, and exactly like you said, the track will speed up as the day goes on, but I think he can be really stoked with that run. It was nice. Nice height in horseshoe as he heads off. That's where he gets his speed from. You have to be high in horseshoe.
Best result for him, 8th in Winterberg. Can he get to that elevated station? It was a good second heat. 1:08.13. It's 31 hundredths better than his first run, and that's not all track for sure. Halfway through the final heat here in St. Moritz, Vladislav Marchenkov of Russia leads from Jerry Rice and Reese Thornberry. 10 down, 10 to go. Well, apart from the views, the athletes just love coming to this track. Is it because it's so historic, or because it's so different, or because it's so nice to slide?
It's really cool because it's magical, it's smooth, and it's fast. And it's the birthplace of our sport. It's an incredible feeling to be able to slide here, and an incredible opportunity.
If you're a Formula One driver, you want to win 2 races, your home Grand Prix and Monaco. And this is Monaco,
yes,
isn't it, of ice sliding?
This is Monaco of skeleton and bobsled.
And in fact, Prince Albert is very frequently a visitor here, sliding. The Prince of Monaco, he's done an awful lot of time down here in contemporary bobsleighs when he was an Olympian in a World Cup slider, and in historics more recently. Matt Antoine thinking his way through the track. Now, you know, every athlete does this, whatever they're doing, 100 meters or, you know, a marathon, you think your way through, you've got in your head what you want to do. And here it's just as important because, you know, when you're sliding skeleton, the old brain box is out in front. If you make a mistake, it can be very painful indeed.
And I think it's even more important in sliding sports because you get 6 minutes of training maximum as you head into a race. So you need to use that visualization, that preparation to be able to have a good run down the track.
And in fact, a week like this week where you missed out on a session of training, you've only had 5 training runs. So yeah, it's even more, you know, for somebody like Marchenkov who's not been here before this season, then, you know, and the rookies and the younger sliders, even one extra training run can make a big difference.
Exactly. It's that visualization, that watching videos, that feeling what it could feel like when you go down the track. So when you hit it, you're prepared.
Yeah, Kaylee Humphries was telling the crowd in Altenburg, I only get 8 runs a year, but when you keep coming back for 12 years, you kind of get a feel for the place, and that's the deal here. Age equals experience equals time on ice, and that's the secret to the consistency. Stunning St. Moritz in Switzerland, the beauty of the mountains and the sound of Guido, the track announcer. Every athlete loves to come to this track. 10 down, 10 to go in the men's skeleton World Cup. Martin Haven and Elizabeth Arche from the Canadian team alongside. Well, almost everybody starting with runner's gear, but great speed at the bottom. 1:35.7 is the fastest, and he takes a big lead, 33 hundredths. And he was only 5 hundredths in front from the first heat, so that's a really solid run. In fact, that's 2 hundredths off the fastest run in the first heat. Now, that is not all track.
No, he did put down a nice run. And again, when he gets to the bottom of the track, he has no idea where he's sitting. He's about a couple feet off the roof, and it comes off nicely. Maybe a little bit higher, be more speed, but he still had really nice speed. A bit too early into telephone.
Well, look at the chin way down there. Grotehair keeping his aerodynamic form. And in those fast corners at the bottom, you're doing 75 miles an hour. 125 Ks into Sachs. Christopher Grotehair leads. Thomas Ducours not out of the medals on this track other than last year for 6 straight years with silvers and a bronze.
And honestly, with how close this race is, he could still be in the medals.
Yeah, 8th after the first heat. And he's under 2:10s out of the medals. 4:98 start. He was 86 in the first heat, so that's a little bit slower, 4:91 rather.
Yeah, and these top 10 guys, other than Sung Bin, it's going to be a really close race. We're going to see a lot of movement, so it'll be interesting to see where it all shakes out.
Grotehair 24 hundredths quicker than his first heat. Thomas Ducours only 12 hundredths. There's Father Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis is traveling with the team, and I'm lucky enough to be able to be coached by the Latvians. We have a cool coaching opportunity to learn from these great athletes. Nice and high in horseshoe. Takes it off with a little toe just to make sure he gets off the corner in time so he doesn't get that extra blip. His elbow's out, which is not characteristic of the Ducours brothers.
And that means he's steering more kind of from above the hips, right?
Exactly, and really leaning away from that wall.
So Thomas Ducours in second. Christopher Grotehair leads with 6 to go, and we have, or 7 to go, because we have a tie for 6th with Martin Ducours, last year's race winner.
Martins Ducours, well, other than right there, you can barely ever see him steer. His form is so perfect, but he's moving a lot. Maybe he went up a little bit in his settings to be a bit riskier to
Single digits, it's not 1:07.57, a new track record today.
And Axel will be on the podium. After a disappointing race in Altenburg, he's going to be stoked with this.
Fantastic. Well, Axel Jung started in North America with 4th in Lake Placid, bronze in Park City, and he is back in at least a bronze medal position, but he was only 7 hundredths behind Tretyakov.
I don't know if he's happy or not.
Yes, he is. Yes, he's happy.
Head right on the ice. You see, he tilts his helmet into the way the corner goes so that he can see the exit still.
Just avoids the wall there, but doesn't avoid it here. Between Martin and Portago, he starts to climb the hill. Okay, well, he's in the medals. Big cheesy grin from him, which means he gets some of the mum champagne on the podium. What about Alexander Tretyakov? The advantage, just 700ths over current leader Axel Jung.
Tretyakov is beyond the natural track. It's quiet, and when you fly, it's surreal. It's amazing.
Right, such a beautiful venue. There you could see the Hessian going across your screen. That's the bob track underneath the Cresta Runner. What's the Hessian for? Well, it's a sunshade. It's to stop the sun melting the track during the course of the day.
And it's a pretty sunny place here, so...
Yeah. It really is. You know, the logo for St. Moritz and Engadine is a mountain with sunshine, and that's what we're used to here, white and bright blue. And you see that so often during the winter here. We're nearly 2,000 meters above sea level, and the air is clear and crisp. And just look at this place. You know, you walk down the track, there are pictures everywhere from the 1900s, the 20s, the 30s, you know, mixed five-man sledges around these hand-built corners.
There's a lot of history in this place, and history for our sport. And it is cool, they do display it around the whole track, so when you walk, you see.
And it's the only place where a slider from the first Winter Olympics here in 1928 would know the track. No other track has been around that long. No other track has been unchanged that long. They'd recognise Sunny, where you used to have crowds around the outside on the top of the corner. They'd recognise the building there in the middle. They'd recognise all of the scenery around them. Everything is as it was back when they started sliding down the village, the valley to the village below in Celerina well over 100 years ago.
And the Dracula Club, too. I don't think that's changed at all.
Well, that was built in the 1970s. There on the hillside opposite, you get a funicular up to the restaurant and the bar, and you can slide on a sledge down the hill. Not quite as long as the famous Preda to Bergun run, which is a 5-mile frozen road. But there is the symbol of the Dracula Club, one of the famous landmarks here in St. Moritz.
If those walls could talk.
7th World Cup race of the season for men's skeleton. Sunbin Jung, win number 5 of the year, and he extends his points advantage over Martin Stukur's, a multiple World Cup winner. Sunbin Jung not going to be racing next week. If Dukurs wins the race, he takes the Crystal Globe yet again. And Sunbin Jung goes home to Korea to gen up and get some more track time before the Winter Olympic Games, which are 30 days away. But if you need any suggestion as to who is going to be a likely medalist and potentially a likely winner, Sunbin's performance here is yet another indicator that he is going to be the one man that everyone is going to have to chase. Elizabeth Arce, a near flawless run and the fastest man on ice.
Definitely one tiny skid, but when you have equipment that fast, an athlete that quick, and a great
competition for men's skeleton, and the bookies' odds will not be long. My thanks to Elizabeth Arce. Congratulations on the great race today, and thank you for calling a great race with us. We'll be with you next week from glorious Berchtesgaden. Join us then, and don't forget, plenty of bobsled action from St. Moritz all weekend. We'll see you then. Until then, from me, Martin Haven, the rest of the crew, goodbye for now.